Noah Am 1206 very well, but we want to welcome in the studio Essel Russell, who's a dental student, Hamiltonian, and is a dentistry student at the University of Otago, and is going to talk to us a wee bit about, I guess, why she was interested in doing dentistry, but most importantly, she's involved with a very important project called ICARE, and she'll talk about what exactly is ICARE. Okay, Essel, tell us. Now, I hope I'm Kiwiising the name. Essel.
Oh, very good.
Essel, yes.
Very good, yeah.
Right. Where does Essel come from?
Arabic in origin. So,
right.
It's an Arabic word.
Yeah. But the Russell, that's not. That's a very common name. Where did that come from?
It's actually Rasul. So,
right.
It's also a part of Arabic, but I guess.
But you see what I've just done, we've anglicised. It's fascinating how we just automatically, because if it's a familiar name in an English context. Okay, Essel, you Hamiltonian, we understand Dad's well-known dentist, River Road. What was the trigger for you to, I guess, get into dentistry? What was the things that started to motivate you?
To be honest, I didn't really want to be a dentist at the start. I wanted to be a maxillofacial surgeon, and basically that's a doctor that specialises in the area of the head and neck. And in order to do that, you have to do dentistry first.
Right.
So, of course, with Dad being a dentist, and he kind of supported me a lot in that, and I was very lucky and got into dent, and here I am. So I'm final year this year.
Okay, and I mean, obviously it's a very demanding course. How many years is it?
It's 5 years in total.
5 years in total.
Yeah. It's a great course down at Otago. Yeah.
Okay. Community health, obviously you specialise, and one of the things that my good co-compere, Holly Snape, has been involved with is that whole issue of community health in terms of dental health out in the community, particularly in lower income areas, and the impact that has on your job prospects, that kind of things as well. In terms of the course in Dunedin, sort of, do you go? I suppose the course eventually covers all of these issues.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, it's really good. They've recently changed the curriculum so that we're more involved in the community. And this year, our class will be the first year to do what we call outplacement. So they send us around the community for 5 weeks in various places, and we work with a lot of Maori oral health providers as well. And we're dealing with the whole preventative side of dentistry as well as the treatment side of things. So teaching people to look after their teeth, to brush their teeth, and things like that, because we do actually have that as a major health problem in New Zealand, especially with early childhood caries, with young kids having a lot of decay at a very early age simply because they're not brushing.
We get a lot of our local families that believe that the first teeth aren't so important.
Yeah.
So they can kind of do what they want with the first set because they'll get another set it.
Exactly.
Because that's not really the case,
common.
Is it?
No, not at all. It's a very common misconception, actually. Primary teeth or baby teeth are very, very important. They basically lay the foundations for your adult teeth.
So if you damage those first teeth, that is actually causing damage to your second lot of teeth?
Absolutely, yeah. If you have a high rate of decay in your primary teeth, then you're more likely to get decay in your adult teeth as well.
So that's obviously very important to get that message out, that sort of education out. And that's part of what you'll be doing with this outreach type of...
Yes, so do you mean with ICARE?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So in Iraq, it's a very kind of similar situation, if not worse, in that there is no oral health education whatsoever for the kids. And so one of the programs we're doing is called Recipes for Prevention, and that's all about providing oral health and medical health education.
Now, I've seen this wonderful, it's a little card, it's got ICARE, and it's obviously got the Iraqi flag on it.
Yes.
And obviously, Iraq, as we know, is one of the countries that has had the tragedy of afflicted by war, civil war, and obviously invasion from outside forces as well.
Yes.
And through that, obviously, a lot of kids and young people are obviously have significant dental industry through war, or perhaps tell us, I guess, first of all, what was the origins of ICARE, what does it stand for, and whose idea was it, and what does it do?
Okay. Well, in my first year of dentistry, one of our professors told us to do a project about dentistry in our home country, and that's when the whole idea of ICARE came in that I was shocked to discover just how bad the situation was in Iraq. So ICARE stands for Iraqi Children's Aid and Repair Endeavour. And basically we're a medical and dental charity, and our aim is to improve the health situation for Iraqi children in Iraq. And I know that sounds like a pretty ambitious thing, but taking baby steps, and hopefully we'll get there. And basically the situation in Iraq is that the health system has crumbled, not just from the recent war, but from 20 years of sanctions. So the whole country's infrastructure is pretty bad, and everything from medical and dental supplies to a huge shortage of doctors, in fact. And a lot of the injuries that these children have, they go beyond simple decay. It's more, birth deformities from the toxic environment, from all the chemical weapons, and maxillofacial injuries, which are basically trauma to the face region because of, explosions and bombs and all that you hear about on the news. So a lot of these kids actually require life-saving surgery, which is, where ICARE comes in, and that we're identifying these cases through a team of doctors in Iraq and an organisation called Tamil Iraq, which means Iraqi orphans. So they identify the cases, they send us the medical records, we register them with ICARE, we put up their profiles on our site and through our network, and then we raise funds to get these children the treatment that they need.
I was going to say that dentistry is very expensive at the best of times, and obviously quite heavy on the resources. So how are you getting those resources? Is it all through fundraising, or do you have government support? Or
ICARE, no, we don't have any government support at the moment. We're fairly new, so it's just we're getting the word out there, through writing emails, making connections and things like that. At the moment, it's through a group of health professionals. So we've got doctors, we've got dentists, we've got some companies on board as well that are helping us to raise funds, and also just through the generosity of Kiwis. So Kiwi people from all walks of life really have been supporting us and donating towards our cause. So yeah,
that's excellent. Now, it's a wonderful cause, but how did you personally become involved in it?
Well, I'm from Iraq, so just, I guess it was just a passion of mine, and I'm really lucky in that I have the support of colleagues back in Dunedin, and also my family played a huge part in that. And just, it started off as an idea, and then it's kind of just developed into something quite real, and then we've applied to become a charitable trust and to get registered with the Charities Commission. So that's already in the progress of happening. So, yeah.
And that would certainly open doors for more funding for you as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So fingers crossed that we will get that.
I guess that's interesting where you have people like yourself who's obviously, New Zealander and Iraqi, a dual national.
Yes.
And is this a cause that obviously, and I don't know how large the Iraqi community is in New Zealand of Iraqi Kiwis, but this presumably is a cause that you would target, because a number of our Iraqi people who live in New Zealand are professional, have come here as refugees or for various circumstances. This is a good cause, presumably, that they themselves, it's a tangible thing.
Absolutely, yeah. It's basically what we have on our site is that ICARE is a platform. We're like a stepping stone for New Zealanders from all walks of life, be they Iraqi, Indian, European in origin, to provide them with a way to help out in Iraq. So they could help out through us and through the projects that we run. So, like I said, we've got Recipes for Prevention going at the moment, which is it's a project to provide Iraqi women and children with education.
Could you tell us some of the key points that might be included in that?
Absolutely. So it's education about health in general, so about hygiene, about things like that, and then also more specifically dental health, so how to look after your child's teeth, just how important those primary teeth are, things like that. Yeah, and also providing them with a way to do that, so with toothbrushes, toothpaste, and things like that, that really in the rural areas in Iraq and places that we're targeting, they don't have that sort of thing there. And the second project we're running is called Sponsor a Smile, and that's what I was saying before, where we put up profiles of the children that need treatment or surgery, and then
that's a great marketing tool, that as well, because it does make it very tangible. Yeah, and how many people, do you know how many people ICARE is currently working with?
At the moment, we've got a group in New Zealand, so over 20 people in our team in New Zealand, and that's spread out all over the country. So we've got people in Auckland, Wellington, Dunedin, Hamilton, and then back home in Iraq, we're working with an organisation called ICARE Iraq, and they're the ones. I mean, they're quite a large organisation, and they have a register of all the orphans that they know of, and everywhere from the central city, Baghdad, to other countries, and they are all volunteers. I have to say, everyone here with ICARE that works with us, we're all volunteers. It's a non-profit organisation. We don't take any admin costs. We don't take any salary or anything like that.
Do you have dentists who, obviously will go back and do I guess a tour of duty?
Yeah.
And one of those tour duties has obviously got to be some security assessment because of just
Absolutely.
the state in certain parts of Iraq with the civil war in different communities and the awful tragedies that have unfolded through that.
Yes.
Iraqi Kiwis, other Kiwis, presumably they'd go back and help out, or is it more raising funds?
The ones that, at the moment, it's just raising funds. The ones that I've talked with, I hope that with time ICARE will grow into something that can send over, New Zealand health professionals to help out and volunteer in Iraq. That is a real possibility because countries like the States, Canada, Italy even, do send teams over to volunteer in Iraq. And hopefully with time we can also do that. The ones that I've talked with, the doctors that I know here that are originally from Iraq, and even some Kiwi doctors and some of my friends at the dental school, they would love, if that opportunity was there, they would definitely go. But like you said, Martin, it's all about security, and I think what has to happen first is that myself and a few of the other founders of ICARE have to go there and check it out and basically make sure that there's a way for us to do that in a safe environment.
But obviously, you being an Iraqi New Zealander will be probably a little bit more street smart, if we can use the term, because of your networks, and it'll be considered if you took some other person who had no knowledge at all or scant knowledge of the history, the dynamics, would arrive at Baghdad airport or wherever and say, oh, great, lovely country, but would walk into areas that potentially were problematical.
Absolutely.
And it just seems that you've got, at the moment, that huge layer of complexity.
Absolutely, yeah. That's definitely getting our doctors to go to Iraq is a dream at the moment, and hopefully it will become a reality. But as you say, there needs to be some serious logistics and assessment happening before we do that. At the moment, it is just raising funds and getting that money over there so the kids can get the treatment.
See, a little bit of personal profile here. You're a Hamiltonian like the rest of us. Where'd you go to school?
I went to Hillcrest High School in Hamilton and Berkeley Normal for intermediate.
And how old were you when you arrived in New Zealand?
I was 5 years old.
5, okay. And have you been back to Iraq?
I have actually. I went back with my mum and my family before the war, so we went back in 2000. But my parents go every year almost. Yeah.
And for them to go back there, that must be, obviously it's seeing family, but it also must have been a very personally traumatic experience to go back to a place that you were used to, and then just seeing the impact.
Yeah, I guess it would be, it would be quite traumatic. Things are pretty bad in most places. Having said that though, it's I don't know, this is sad to say, but I guess it's something that we as Iraqis gotten used to over the years because it's been decades. It's not a recent thing. So and it's very sad to say, but you kind of get numb to it. Like when I guess an ordinary Kiwi would hear on the news about explosions and things and get really shocked, whereas with us it's just such a normal occurrence that we hear about it all the time. It's not as devastating, but it still gets to you. Yeah, you just have to try and twist it around to make it into a positive thing and look at it from a different angle.
The tragedy is people being literally in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Absolutely.
Just in terms of just walking down the street.
Yeah. So one of the things that we always say is that the number of patients is continually increasing and the number of doctors is always decreasing, and that's because doctors are threatened over there, and in fact a lot of them have immigrated. So there's a huge brain drain in the country at the moment with lack of professionals, especially health professionals. They're afraid for their security, so they get up and leave, and then we're left with all the patients because of all the bombs and things. So it's quite
And obviously the people you're trying to, their life chances are so dramatically reduced, and so it's bad enough, but to have sort of massive facial injuries.
Absolutely.
And their life chances so reduced, so obviously the huge change you make, the huge difference you'll make to an individual and their families.
We hope so, yeah. A lot of the children that we're helping are actually orphans, so Iraq has one of the highest rates of orphans in the world. It's said that 1 in every 5 Iraqi children is an orphan, so that's almost 5 million Iraqi children, and that's almost the entire New Zealand population, and these kids don't have the means to get anything, basically, education or anything, yet alone, dental or medical treatment. So those are the kids that we're trying to target and help out with this ICARE. Yeah.
And if people want to find you, you've got a website?
Absolutely. So I've got 3 simple.
Give us the details.
I've got 3 simple steps if somebody out there is listening and wants to help out. And I call them the 3 S's. So the first thing you've got to do is see. So please visit our website and have a look at what we're up to. And the website is www.irakicare. So IRAQI and then care.com. We're also on Facebook, so if you just type in ICARE, you should be able to find us. Then the second is support. So if this sounds like something that you want to donate to, so you can donate your time, you can become part of the team, or you can donate financially. We've got donation boxes popping up all over the country in most dental clinics and most community areas and stores even. Or you can donate directly into our bank account. So all the details are on our site. And the third S is suggest. So we really want to get the word out there. So if you suggest it to your friends and families and just spread it basically through word of mouth and join us on Facebook and keep up to date with what we're up to.
What support? So you've had a bit of support, and no doubt your father's helpful in this in terms of our local Hamilton dental community.
Yes. We've had a lot of support from the dental community in many places around New Zealand, actually, and the dental companies as well. They've been quite good. But I really want to make it clear, it's not just dental and medical people that are helping out. I mean, I've been so touched, really, just people from the community. We went to a conference a few weekends ago, and just the amount of people that were touched by the plight of the Iraqi children, and just normal people, ordinary Kiwis from all walks of life have been supporting us. Yeah.
I think one of the issues with our overseas, aid development is obviously, people see money and you need it for the projects, Asia Development Bank, International Bank, all of that, but then they say, well, how much of that is on administration? This to me is a tangible. This
Absolutely.
is, you see what you give, you see, and there's a face. There's a face, there's a person at the other end of that. Of that small contribution.
And we are putting up videos of the children that we're helping, so before and after, so you will actually see where your money is going, and it's absolutely non-profit. Nobody that's working with us is getting anything out of this. It's all for the sake of doing good, basically, so hopefully it will stay that way. Yeah.
And I guess from your point of view as an Iraqi Kiwi, that other bit of your identity, which of course, is your way as a Kiwi of putting back to the country that you came from.
Absolutely. I think a lot of, the generosity of New Zealanders in general. I mean, growing up here, it's just amazing. I think Kiwis in general are really giving people and, put others before themselves. And I think, my Kiwi upbringing has had a lot to do with that, definitely, growing up here. Yeah.
Even though some of us have inadvertently Kiwiized your name. So it's Asil.
Yeah.
Russell.
Yeah.
And is it Russell? So this is in Arabic. It's fascinating because
Russell.
Russell.
Yeah.
Russell. There you go. And yes, indeed. I'm being Irish, interested in genealogy. You see.
Okay.
That's all right. There you go. Thank you, Asil, for coming with us. And you're with ICARE. And if they want to find you, just repeat that website again.
Absolutely. It's www.irakicare, so IRAQICARE.com. And you can also find us on Facebook, or you can just Google Asil Russell and we'll show up, I'm sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, Craig.
Yeah, thanks for that. Anyway, I was just interested in what part of Iraq did you come from, or came from? Your father came from?
Originally from Najaf, which is just on the outskirts of Baghdad. So yeah, it's one of the most holiest cities in the world, actually, in Islam. So yeah.
And an interesting point, you say things have declined or declined rather badly at health facilities since sanctions. So was there any sort of form of decent health dental services prior to sanctions?
Absolutely. Iraq used to be one of the leaders in the Middle East when it came to healthcare, and actually the first hospital in human civilization was actually established in Baghdad. So we used to be up there, but as I say, with all the sanctions and the UN and the wars since then, it's just basically crumbled. So maybe one day we'll get back there.
What about fluoridation of water? Did that happen there, or didn't it? Or did this fluoride occur naturally?
There is no programs like that in Iraq at the moment. Fluorization of water that would require a lot of changes in people's attitudes and education and things like that, so that they know the benefits of fluoride, and then for the government to allow that to be put in the water. You've seen the fluoride debate in New Zealand and how difficult that was, and it would be even more so to do that in Iraq. But maybe one day that could happen.
Just, again, to re-establish World Health Organization water standards. But interesting point Seal is making about Iraq was, in terms of its infrastructure, one of the most, certainly in terms of education and opportunities for women, in terms of the numbers of as I understand it and read it, and as tragic as the dictatorship was, of the Ba'athist Party was, the actual structure of the society, as I understand it, in terms of it, compared with other neighbouring countries, was very significant. In terms of the opportunities, but of course, everything came at an awful, tragic cost. But the impact of sanctions is
yes, that's right.
I don't personally think New Zealanders fully appreciate. When you put sanctions on a country and you're targeting the ruling regime, albeit, as we know historically, a superpower in terms of the United States of America was very friendly with they were, with the war with Iran, once they were on side, then suddenly it all changed. But the impact that Seal describes, around, just what that meant on the population, so that over time you've had that collapse of the medical services.
It just basically meant that nothing can get into or out of Iraq, so, all the medical supplies and things like that, outdated equipment. The sanctions basically isolate a country, and that's hence the crumbling of the health system.
Yeah, that's right, Hence the criticism from certain sectors of the West that sanctions did not work.
Well, that's, again, the example, and history, tragically, as they say, is history, but now with this organisation, it's just a very tangible way, in your own way, where you're starting to help rebuild.
We hope
a significant little contribution in there around that whole dental health area. And yes, indeed, we hope in years to come
yes,
it gets
watch
better.
This space.
Watch this space.
As they say, yes.
Great to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Seal. Okay, it is 10:28 and this is Community Focus. Okay, we'll just put some music on and we'll be back with you shortly.